India is an integral part of the US-led Quad and is also the founding member of non-Western organizations like SCO and BRICS. You've just come back from India. Can you give us some insight into its current geopolitical alignment? Where does India stand in relation to the new Cold War or hybrid war?
Yeah, in a very, very ambiguous position. Let me put it that way. The current prime minister, who is extremely authoritarian, practically fascist, I should say. So, this prime minister and his party have historically led India to ever closer relations with the United States and Israel as well. Also, been the leader in weakening India's historic commitment to the Palestinian cause, which was there. India was one of the few countries to vote against the creation of Israel back in 1948, precisely because it was concerned about the people of Palestine and what would happen to them. So this is the background. So this party would love nothing more than to run into the arms of the United States, to be the lieutenant of the United States in the region. In 1998, this Modi's party, the BJP, first came to power to lead a government. And one of its first acts in office was to conduct a second set of nuclear tests. As you know, India had already conducted nuclear tests in 1972. So it conducted a second set of nuclear tests. And the prime minister at the time, Mr. Vajpayee, wrote to President Clinton, essentially saying to Clinton that we are now stronger and we are here to help you counterbalance China in the region. Because they have also been profoundly anti-China right from the beginning. They exploited Nehru's mistakes in the 1962 war and so on. I mean, Nehru made mistakes, there's no doubt, etc. So they exploited them and they have been quite anti-China ever since. And of course, as you know, under Modi, relations between China and India have been very bad. We had those strange incidents at the border and so on and so forth. All of these things are going on. However, in the context, particularly of the Ukraine conflict, given partly, of course, the historically close relationship India has had to Russia, which is also a close defense relationship. But most importantly, I think, from the point of view of Narendra Modi, is that being able to import cheap Russian oil has been a lifeline for India. Without that, inflation would be even higher in India. And that would simply make things uncontrollable. So I think for all of these reasons, India has, on the one hand, of course, reciprocated to US's efforts to try to include it in Quad and whatnot and so on. But on the other hand, it has had to be mindful of the fact that it has certain objective limitations. India's economy, contrary to the advertised growth figures, is actually not doing well at all. The advertised growth figures are a product of statistical manipulation. And if you remove that statistical manipulation, it would probably be growing at a slower pace than China's. But we don't know because, we don't have the official statistics, but a number of very competent economists have made these criticisms. So the West would dearly love it if India would become more dynamic. But quite frankly, India is not dynamic precisely because India is pursuing a neoliberal capitalist set of policies as opposed to China, which is pursuing a form of market socialism. And this is the key difference between them. And unless India finds a way, and there are so many ironies as well. Recently there was some big silly argument. India became the most populous country in the world, and it's sort of said, oh, well, we are going to beat our chest. I mean, historically, there is nothing particularly great about being the most populous country in the world, especially if, as in the case of India, you are not managing to educate your young population. There's supposed to be this demographic dividend that India will enjoy, but India will enjoy no demographic dividend if we cannot educate and employ these millions of young people who are every year freshly coming on the market. At the moment, we have such a bad employment crisis that there are often riots because some state government has advertised for so many positions and it has received like hundreds of times more applications than the positions that they have to fill. There are many different causes of frictions, etc. So India is not doing very well at all. India will be hamstrung as long as we have this government, which seems to have only one economic policy. And that is to do what the biggest corporations of India want. That's not going to serve the interests of even the smaller businesses of India, let alone the working people, the so-called micro enterprises, which are just people who don't have any job and are forced to eke out a living by allegedly doing a business, etc. So all of these things are looking extremely bad. I don't know how things will work out, but I'm only thankful, perhaps because Modi has passed on the conduct of foreign policy to a set of civil servants, that it is at least remaining in a sort of middle path rather than running over to the side of the Americans.